Every conceivable challenge or problem you come up against has a root cause. You may call that root cause your children, you may call that root cause your in laws. But no matter what it is, there is a root cause to every problem. And if your problem is fat, then there is a root cause. And we call that your hormones. And now, even though hormones might be the root cause of why we gain fat or have so much difficulty losing fat, there's another root cause. There's actually, like in this case, a root cause to the root cause, right? So if the challenge is your hormones are not in proper balance and you're finding it difficult to strip away body fat, or you find yourself putting fat on way too easily when in the past you used to eat exactly the same way and never gain an ounce, well, this is the reason why. All of your hormones that are responsible for fat burning actually are secreted or start in your gut. So if your gut health is not where it needs to be, guess what happens then? It directly affects your secretion of the hormones responsible for helping you to lose that body fat. And so there are many reasons why we get to this state where our gut health is such where it's not helping us with our hormonal balance. Some of it, yes, is absolutely tied to our lifestyle. It's tied to the foods we eat. It's tied to whether or not we are exercising, right? And what we tend to do is we tend to look across that spectrum of things that we feel if we did them, they should help us to lose fat. And so we implement one thing and we expect to see the result and it doesn't happen. Or we'll implement another thing, expect to see the result and it doesn't happen. And then we're kicking ourselves, not understanding, well, I'm exercising now, I'm trying to eat better, but why isn't this working? And it's because it's not as cut and dry as, hey, just eat less and work out more, because your body does not operate like a scale. It's not about your calories in and calories out. It's about your hormonal balance. And if that is not correct, well, guess what happens? Even if you're eating less, your body will still store fat. And then you could have the opposite situation, which is the ideal one, where you can actually eat more and your body puts out more and burns more fat. But in order to be in that place, you have to be in proper hormonal balance. And that's not going to happen unless your gut health is in proper balance. And to do that, well, this is where it can get a little bit more complicated, because yes, your nutrition plays a huge role in it. And yes, it's about more than just simply eating healthy. You have to be very, very directed, very focused in how you go about it. And in some cases, you may have to use some type of intervention to help you get that result better and or faster. So we utilize a couple of things around here. Intermittent fasting is one thing that can help your gut health and get you into proper balance faster. But another thing, we ran a challenge last month where we put heavy emphasis on cutting down on the amount of sugar that you're consuming, the amount of added sugar you're consuming. Sugar is one of the greatest stomach, or I should say gut disruptors that there ever was. Right? And I'm not villainizing sugar at all, but what I'm saying is that if you're not conscientious about the added sugar that's coming into your daily nutrition, well, that is a quick disruptor for your gut microbiome. You see, this bacteria in your gut, it feeds off of that. And the more of it it's being fed, well, guess what happens? It expects more. But the challenge is that when your gut microbiome is feeding off that sugar, it's also not allowing your body to stimulate those hormones that would be responsible for you burning through that sugar and then starting to burn more body fat. So you see, all the little things start to matter. In the challenge we just did this last month, we put a heavy, heavy focus on protein consumption. Why? Well, aside from it being so important in terms of helping you to build and allow your muscles to recover, it also plays a role in satiating us so that we do not wind up eating all of those foods that also wind up being gut disruptors. And also, guess what happens? Your microbiome starts expecting protein and it starts feeding off of that. And with that, it can utilize that in a positive way. And so then the last piece of the puzzle for us is the supplementation. And that's making sure that we are taking in the proper strains, just remember that, of probiotics that are responsible for us stimulating those hormones that help us to burn fat. Now, if you've never heard us talk about this before, just tune in to me for just a second here. I'm going to try to keep this really simple and clear. When it comes to probiotic supplements, basically what these things do is that they go after our gut microbiome, our gut bacteria. And what we're trying to do is provide the right probiotics, the right food for our gut so that it does the things that we want it to do. So it secretes the hormones that we want it to secrete. So for example, serotonin, the feel-good hormone, 90% of that resides in your gut. But the problem is if your gut microbiome is not helping you to secrete that serotonin, then guess what happens? You don't feel as good. But if you take specific strains of probiotics, it will directly affect the microbiome that's responsible for that serotonin secretion. Awesome, right? But up until this point, there has not been any strains of probiotic that actually helps you to target the hormones that will be responsible for you burning fat. So if you're looking to get rid of your gut, you have to hone in first on your gut health. All right. And so I'm really excited about what's coming down the pipe in about the next 30 days or so, maybe a little bit less, where we're finally going to have that strain available, which is awesome. And here's how this works. If you ever get a chance, there's an awesome Netflix in which they talk about the microbiome. And this is a crazy experiment. So stay with me on this one. There was a woman who was suffering from these really terrible stomach pains. Never had them before in her life. But here she is in her late 30s, suddenly experiencing this like never before. And all the doctors who were examining her, this took place in the Northeast. So this was at Harvard. They're examining her and they can't figure out what's going on. Like why now she's suddenly developed all of these intense stomach pains. But what they did know is that they had a potential fix to the problem. And it had to do with the gut microbiome. And what they figured is if they could get healthy gut bacteria into her, then it might resolve the problem. Because most of the other studies done on mice showed that this seems to work. And so what they had to do is they had to find someone who could donate this microbiome, this gut bacteria from their own body to transplant into this woman. And so they went with her 10-year-old daughter. And so they made the transplant and literally within days of making that transplant, her stomach pains absolutely disappeared, never to be felt again. Amazing, right? Except for the side effect. The side effect was that in the next 365 days, she put on over 30 pounds. In the days that followed, she put on more weight, ballooning up to almost being 60 pounds over her original weight. Now, mind you, this was not a woman who ever in her life suffered with weight issues. So to gain that much weight in such a short span of time, only one thing could have resulted in this. It was the microbiome transplant. So what happened? Well, what happened was even though the daughter's microbiome was very healthy and was able to rid her of these stomach pains, the daughter also happened to be obese for her age. And so this is how sensitive an issue this is. Your gut microbiome literally dictates whether you gain weight or you lose weight and how easily. And so in the case of this unfortunate woman, fortunate that her pains got resolved, unfortunate that poor gut bacteria got transplanted in her that resulted in her ballooning up. And so what's cool about what's coming down the pipe is that you don't need a microbiome transplant in order to make this fix. We're going to fix it using your own microbiome. We're going to fix it in a way that's going to ensure that you are getting what that gut bacteria actually needs to be feeding off of in order to produce those fat-burning hormones. However, you could get a jump on it. You could get a jump on it by cutting down your sugar. You could get a jump on it by increasing your protein. You could get a jump on it by lowering the amount of processed foods that you eat. Once you do that, you are well on your way to fixing your gut fat loss problem simply by fixing your gut. So hopefully you guys took a little something from that today. If so, please drop me some love below. I always like to know if this influenced you at all, if you're going to make some of those changes, or at the very least, look into making some of those changes because they work. Just ask anybody who just did any of the last 21 challenges we did. We've been seeing some amazing results, and that was by only tweaking one thing at a time. So get ready, get set for what we have coming in January because it's going to be awesome and you're going to want to jump on board. We'll catch you guys next time.